Hi guys, welcome to my bookworm sanctuary. I'm Bianca and I wanted to do my romance journey tag. So I did see Brie from In Love and Words and a few others do this tag. No one's actually tagged me in it, so I'm just doing it for shits and giggles basically. Thought it'd be interesting. Hopefully I don't talk myself too much around and around in circles, but we'll see how I go. But basically, with the first question about how old were you when you started reading romance, and do you remember the first romance you read? Ooh, that's a very good question. How old was I when I started reading romance? Well, I've always read. Um, I've always been a bit of a reader, and honestly, I read a lot of the Babysitter's Club when I was preteen, teenager. Absolutely loved the Babysitter's Club. So I guess Marianne and Logan were the first romance I ever saw on page, I guess. And then I read the Tomorrow When the War Began series. Absolutely adored that series. And the main character, Ellie, sort of has a side relationship with this guy called Lee, even though that's not the focus of the story, the series. So with the series, so with my reading, I just for a long time I did read a lot of other books that I thought I should be reading or was told by non-readers I should be reading because romance wasn't a genre that was worth reading, according to some. It took me quite a long time to get comfortable with the fact that I am a romance reader, and that's the end of that. And I do like to branch out, but for the most part, I like romance, and there's no shame in that. So, yeah. And I guess with the first romance books, I was probably about maybe 17 when I started actually purchasing romance books for myself. And the second question is, did you deliberately seek out romance or did you stumble upon it, and how? Um, I sort of stumbled upon it on my journey of reading. Once I started branching out of the Babysitters Club, basically I did YA and things like that, but I was probably about 17 when I first moved out of home. And at that time when I started reading, there was no Kindle, there was no, I think Amazon was only just starting. And so, yeah, accessibility for books was a lot harder for me. I also I didn't have a lot of money at the time. So for me to purchase books, to spend $20 on a book was either read or eat. Unfortunately, sometimes I chose reading over eating, but whatever. Priorities. But I bought these $1 books from a discount store, basically. And I believe they're Harlequin books. I still got them. And they were love swept novels. And there were these little, some of them were suspense, some of them were contemporary, but they were just these quick little kind of vanilla romances. And that's when I really started to realize I really like romances. And then I started to move into uh, historical romances because they were cheap. To be honest, I could pick them up at secondhand bookstore shops or discount stores for like $2, and I had no money, so it was perfect for me. And I did go through the library, but unfortunately, once I realised I really liked romance, I pretty much exhausted the library's variety of what I wanted to read. So yeah, I was sort of in this stalemate area for a long time of wanting to read new books, but unable to do so. So I did reread heaps, and the amount of times I've reread the Immortals After Dark series is ridiculous. Anyway, next question. Did you start with traditionally published or indie, and has it switched? I feel like I just answered that question. It's I started off with traditionally published books because, like I said, there was no options for me. I'm 36. Don't even know how old I am. I'm 36. I'll be 37 in September. But I basically started reading traditionally published books because there was no other option around at the time. I either had the library, and that was about it, really. I went through library books and completely exhausted as much as I could. Same. And then I moved into historicals. Then I found paranormal, and then I went down a whole rabbit hole with that. These days, I think I'm more of a independent reader, like an independent author reader. I do have quite a few traditionally published books still that I like, and series I like. But for the most part, I think it's indie these days. I just, you can tend to get the weirder ones with the independent authors, and I like the weirder ones these days. And yeah, I think it's independent for me. Question 4 is what was a romance trope you were afraid to try but end up loving? I don't think I was ever really afraid to try. To be honest, I used to pick up a lot of books by mistake. Just go, that looks cool, and then realize halfway through it or a few pages in that it was probably not for me. Maybe paranormal. I probably would say paranormal. I don't think I was expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I do remember being in a library and I was in my historical romance stage and I just sort of wanted to branch out. And I'm pretty sure I found 2 books: The Black Dagger Brotherhood, Dark Lover, and Kresley Cole's No Rest for the Wicked. Pretty sure that I found No Rest for the Wicked in the library, or I found it at the dollar shop, one or the other. Anyway, that's when I realised, and I read them, and that's when I realised I really liked paranormal. So maybe paranormal? Honestly, I can't remember. My memory's hopeless. And then question number 5 is there a romance book you would read early on in your journey that you would rate differently today? Probably quite a few. There's probably quite a few books that are just a bit questionable when you think about it. I'd probably say one of my historicals. Probably this one. I loved this. Absolutely adored this. Like I killed it. But I absolutely adored this. Thinking about it, I think it's pretty problematic. What was was his name Adam? It was. So, from memory, Adam abducts Alexa when she is just starting to have her season or coming out or whatever it is. And I think this is about time of a war. Oh, far out, Bianca, you're not helpful. But I'm sorry, I'm not very good with American history, but I think it was a civil war. Oh, I'm sorry, I sound stupid. Anywho's, there's a war's going on. I think it was their war against the British. Anyway, Alexa has been kidnapped by Adam, and Adam treats her like shit, but she falls in love. It's this whole thing, and he kind of is a prick to her the entire time. And thinking about it, yeah, this is very problematic. But I loved it. I idolized this book. I think I reread it 1,000,008 times. I loved this book. So, yeah, probably My Lady Vixen. And honestly, probably a few other historical romances I can't remember off the top of my head. Question number 6. How has my taste in romance evolved over the years? I'm definitely more confident in the fact that I'm a romance reader. I read for me, I don't read for you. And if you don't like the fact that I don't read romance, that I read romance, well, that's on you, not on me. I like it to escape, so yeah. But what was the question? How do I think my taste is involved? I think I've tried the whole contemporary angsty stuff that you do in your early 20s. I feel like I've read all the stuff that is kind of popular now. Like the angsty, the drama and all that sort of stuff. I feel like I'm over that kind of storytelling these days. Don't get me wrong, I still like an angsty book and all that, but for the most part, I don't probably seek them out as much as I used to. I'm probably just more after a lighter, less emotional read, probably. I don't know. I definitely think it just depends on my mood. I think I'm a mood reader, so whatever just sort of floats my boat. I go in, and I can tend to say, for example, read Nalini Singh, discover Nalini Singh, and then go on an absolute binge with all her books, and then start getting sick of her. I don't get sick of Nalini Singh, but you know what I mean. So I don't know. I just think it just depends on my mood. Number 7, what is the most powerful romance that you have read that left a lasting impact? Crap. Why do you have to ask me that question? I don't know. A lasting impact. A lot of them sort of do. For me, yeah, a lot of them have a lasting impact on me. It's how I felt about them at the time. No Rest for the Wicked is still an ultimate favourite of mine. I love Slave to Sensation, but again, I love pretty much every book in the Side Changeling series, and I think they're all powerful romances in their own way. I think it just depends. Powerful romance. I don't know, man. Why do you ask me these questions that make me use my brain? I don't know. I feel like a lot of them powerful in their own right. What was the and number 8? What was the romance book that told you this is what I'm looking for in my personal life and/or partner? Don't really take my partner advice from books. If I did, I'd be searching for a vampire or a werewolf, for fuck's sake. Yeah. I don't use any of that. I've got Grant, the husband, Mr. Sports, whatever the hell you want to call him. We've been together a long time, married, but I don't think I really ever looked towards a romance book and went, oh, he's like that. That's why I want to marry him or want to be with him. So yeah, I mean, some days I wish he was a vampire, because it'd be kind of cool if he could suck my blood. No, I'm joking, but yeah, I don't know. And number 9 is which romance books would you recommend to a romance newbie and a seasoned romance reader? Honestly, I think that's something very personal. I think if you're the one who's going to be able to judge if you're going to like this book or not. I mean, I could recommend a paranormal werewolf romance that, he never, I don't know, but you may not be into werewolves and paranormal aspects, but I am. So I think it just totally depends. If you were going into maybe historicals, I probably would recommend. Honestly, I really loved Stephanie Lawrence, and that's where I started in historicals, more or less. So I think her Sinster series is really good. I really, really liked that. Also think Sabrina Jeffries is really good for historical books. Tessa Dare, I've only recently read her. I really think her series, The Duchess Deal actually, I think it would be a really good idea for a romance newbie. It's historical, but it's not throwing a lot of terms that you don't know, and it sort of explains how life worked then for you. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. And a seasoned romance reader, I guess I'd probably definitely recommend something paranormally outside monster, alien, outside the box. An Immortals After Dark book, definitely. A Psy Changeling book, definitely. Probably Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet Barbarians. Love them. I'd probably recommend them. And honestly, I'd probably, any book that was a little heavier and a little bit more intense, maybe, I'd probably recommend a seasoned romance reader. I think, me personally, I think a lot of the new romance readers are quite young, which is fine. But you, you work your way up. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I definitely read more intense books and more bizarre books than I did when I was a teenager. But at the same time, I probably don't read as angsty books as I did when I was a teen. And books are a lot more accessible now, I feel like, compared to when I was starting to read it. Last question. In my eyes, what are 3 perfect romances? Perfect romances. I don't know. A lot of them are very close to perfect, but I wouldn't call them perfect. Because there's always just maybe 1 or 2 things that I don't particularly like. Let me have a quick look at my shelves. Please hold. I don't know. What was a perfect romance, Bianca Elizabeth? Not very helpful here, am I? I think a Nalini Singh book is generally pretty near perfect for me. I personally don't enjoy angel stories, so unfortunately I'm not a huge fan of her Guild Hunter series. I've only read 1 or 2 books of that anyway. I want to try them again, but obviously though I love the Psy Changeling, which are very interesting. Psychic beings, humans, shifters, all live in a world that's got issues. And I think a lot of them are very perfect for me. The Immortals After Dark, again, perfect for me. I think No Rest for the Wicked, very old, this one, and it's been taped together and all sorts of stuff, but I think this one's very close to perfect. I do enjoy this a lot. The Earl Takes All. Was it The Earl Takes All? Yeah, The Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath. I think that is very near perfect. I feel like a Sabrina Jeffries book is near perfect, but I can't think. Kushiel's Dart was near perfect. It's fucking complex though, and a fantasy. I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit, again, a personal question, and I'm not really sure. It's hard for me to pinpoint down a sort of perfect romance. But yeah, anyway, that was my attempt at answering the tag questions. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.